Well, it seems like these days I can't get out of the dark side rut. There's just too much everywhere I look. Carl Killo here. This is the dark side, and I'm continuing uh, on trying to. I don't think decipher is the right word, but understand why there's such an unwillingness to listen to the other side. I think I get it. I mean, well, the theory that I'm working with, based on people that I've read and the knowledge that I have locked away up here, is that it's so much easier to defend the worldview, or as Dr. Peterson likes to put it, your own personal theology. Well, I don't know if he uses the word personal. It's so much easier to defend that, even at the cost of speaking lies and lying to yourself. And if you wonder why I've got Socrates in my background all the time, it's because one of the best things that we've ever attributed to him was that it was his story of him going to the oracle in Delphi and having the oracle proclaim Socrates is the most intelligent, no, the most wise of the Athenians, because he alone knew that he knew nothing. I took a martial arts class from a really brilliant man who I believe had like a triple or quadruple, whatever, something insane black belt. One of the first things that he taught you when you got into his class was forget everything else that you've learned. Because if you try to put your stuff on top of mine, it's not going to work out well for you. And you're going to try and skip steps. And that's an interesting way to put it, trying to skip steps. I don't think those were the words that he used, but it was something like that. Because if you're starting from scratch and you know nothing, you can get everything from the person who's trying to teach you. If you think you already know something, and especially if that something is important to you, and in the instance of martial arts, it would have been something like, well, why would knowing a particular martial arts style or skill be important to you? Well, because you put time into it. And nobody likes to think that they wasted their time. And if you practice something, you want to be able to demonstrate some sort of proficiency. And so it's a very difficult thing to do, to learn new knowledge from a new person in a new way and let there be space for that new knowledge in your mind. And I think this is what's happening with Dr. Peterson. It's definitely what happened with me. I was extremely militantly atheistic, didn't do anything but just go and trash literal interpretations of the Bible. And it did nothing but keep me from learning. I'm not saying I'm closer to the truth now. I am saying I know a lot more now than I ever did. And it's because I stopped letting my stupid pride get in the way of the things that I knew. Well, the things that I knew made me proud. And I would have to defend them to defend my pride. I think that's right. Well, so why am I going on this rant? And why am I coming back to this Dr. Peterson Slate article? Well, because I can't believe a man wrote this. I listened to. Well, let me give us some background first, in case you're watching this one without watching my previous one, because my previous one was just reading through this Slate piece for the first time and trying to make sense of it. And now that I've had some time to process, I'm going to give you a different perspective. So I read through this. I ranted at the camera. Yes, I had pretty much the reaction that I expected I was going to have. After all, it's Slate, and we all know that Slate is very left leaning. And if you're watching this, you know I am not. And so I was not satisfied with the answers that I was getting from, well, just reading it and my interpretation. I wanted to know what Mr. Follet, I'm going to assume it's Follet, was getting at. Hey, look, we've got all these left-leaning articles and left-leaning pieces, no, left-leaning news sites, like, well, the ones that always come to my mind are Huffington Post, Slate, Salon, The Guardian, as being particularly viciously left. And so maybe it's their editors pushing their young pup, to use a Gurney Halleck phrase. Yeah, I'm a Dune fan. Young pup journalists to write hit pieces on people they disagree with. And hey, why not? If that gets your site visitors, drives traffic, you're making money. Why would you ever quit doing something that's making you money? That's a tough one, but not the road I want to go down right now. So I wasn't satisfied with my initial read through and the answers that I was coming up with, and I became very curious what was really going on. So this piece started from the New York Times article about Jordan Peterson. And the big blow up on that was the whole enforced monogamy, which really just means, hey, we look at each other, we expect to bond in a pair and a family in order to raise children. And if your son comes to you and says, hey, I just got married, and guess what? I've slept with two other people. That doesn't happen. Nobody would be proud of that. Well, I can't say nobody, but, and if it was my son's doing that 10 years from now, 20 years from now, then I would be horrified. And so would they. Then they would hide it from me. They wouldn't be proud of it. We consider not being faithful, we call it being faithful to our partner, one of the worst things that you can do. And just because it sounds nasty, because, well, I get it, the word enforced sounds like, well, here's the problem with the left right now. The only way they can see something being enforced is through the state. And especially if you're in the UK right now, well, this is 2018, May 24th. If you're in the UK right now and you're seeing people going to jail for posting stupid videos on YouTube, well, God, you could go to jail for anything. And so it's not a too unreasonable assumption by people to read the term enforced monogamy and think, okay, well, that means someone's going to be, well, Big Brother's going to be staring at me. And nobody wants that. I don't think even the most, well, I'd find it very hard to believe that anyone would enjoy that level of enforcement from well, not necessarily arbitrary authority figures, but elected officials, shall we say, or bureaucrats, or people who work for the state police. All right. So that's the whole enforced monogamy thing. It really just means, look, we look up to marriage as an institution that's important. That's all it is. And it's kind of a shame we have to explain that. All right, but that's not what this is about. What is this about? Well, this whole Slate article is supposedly about how horrible it is that this man, Trevor Alexander Nestor, who posted an audio recording of his call with Dr. Peterson, and considering that it happened fairly recently through the launch of his fame, Dr. Peterson's time is becoming extremely valuable. And this piece goes through and repeatedly says, well, look, this is not a therapy session, I get it, and then slams Dr. Peterson's therapy. And so I couldn't, this just didn't make any sense to me. So I went and listened to Trevor's audio, and I'm trying to contact him, and I hope he will reach out to me, because I'd really like to talk to him. He sounded very articulate. The man had just gone through UC Berkeley's program and talked about the ridiculous amount of social justice warrioring and neo-Marxism going on the campus. And he's a very technically oriented young man. I'm not even sure young man is the right term anymore. He's an adult. He's in his 20s. And how does Jonathan Follett, portray Trevor Nestor? A young, unemployed white man. Well, that was true. Trevor couldn't deal with the fact that he was being lambasted by leftist ideology right and left. He couldn't take it anymore. And so he had to leave Berkeley for a while, and he had to seek therapy, and not from Dr. Peterson. And the really interesting part of this is how horrible the advice was he received from the people that called themselves therapists. So keep that in mind, because this whole Slate article is about, well, I'm a therapist and I have 50 clients. Let's go to that section. I make my living thinking and writing about therapy. I have a caseload of 50 people in an outpatient clinic in Chicago, so I'm familiar with the rhythms of a therapy session. I was deeply troubled by what I saw in Peterson's session with Nestor. Well, okay, it's not a session, and it's been repeatedly stated in this own article. I mean, the inconsistency within the article is unbelievable. The advice that Trevor got from, Mr. Nestor got from Jordan Peterson, Dr. Jordan Peterson, was, there's nothing wrong with you, dude. Of course you're nervous. You're looking for a job. You're straight out of college. You're having to do the shotgun approach to sitting out all your resumes, and that can be nerve-wracking. But there's nothing wrong with you. You should feel nervous. And his other therapist, you can hear this in the audio, his other therapist said, oh, maybe you've got OCD. Oh, maybe this is wrong with you. Or maybe you should take some antidepressants, because there's nothing wrong with you. And you shouldn't be nervous. Well, they were right that there was nothing wrong with him. They were wrong that he shouldn't be nervous. Of course he's nervous. Anxiety is what drives us forward, because we don't like that feeling and we want to know that our future is sorted out. being able to see clearly into the next day, the next week, the next year reduces that anxiety. And the man's life is in chaos right now because he's looking for a job and he's right out of college. Their conversation was not about what the right way, it was not about how Trevor Nestor should fix himself in his mind. It was about the things that he should do in his life so that his anxiety will go away. And Dr. Peterson said, look, you're actually doing the right thing. You're sending out all these resumes. You got some interviews lined up, and you better keep doing that. And I know it's really easy to get depressed and upset when you're trying to win the job lottery, I think is the way that he put it. I like that. And so what I want to do next is take this article and chop it up with Trevor's audio, if he'll let me, to show just how disingenuous things like this are and how little attempt is made to understand the depth of understanding that a great mind like Dr. Peterson is able to demonstrate to the world. And maybe with good, not with good, I can understand the reasons. They're not good reasons. If there's a way to make money, a way to back up a certain ideology will be a way to make money. If there's a way to make money by doing a quick hit piece, quick hit pieces will be created, and they will not be factual. But lies repeated often enough will be believed, especially by those that want to believe them, especially by those that do not want to put in the work. It's very hard for me to understand why anyone would not want to listen to Dr. Peterson, because you learn so much about the world and yourself by doing so. But I guess that is a lot to ask. A lot to ask. For some people, that would mean reflecting upon their past and realizing how much harm they had done. Man, that's gotta hurt. Like a lot. Far easier to find a way to feel good about your past than to change your mind and to grow it. Because doing that does require a little death. And that is painful. Because you have to reorganize your whole life around certain pieces of knowledge. And we're busy and we've got things to do. So sometimes it's easier to live a lie than to do the work of reorganizing your entire life. So I think I understand. But I don't ever see how we're ever going to get any better or more honest with each other unless we're better at not lying to ourselves. Socrates alone knew he knew nothing. And that may still be true today.